Good morning, Kevin. How are you going?
Good, thanks, Bede. Just a minor cold, but otherwise well.
Yeah, a bit cold, isn't it? Anyway. Now, today we're going to start, and it's probably going to be over the next couple of conversations. Really, we're going to be talking about the basis of understanding Vedanta. And this basis is the understanding or the recognition of what God is, or what Ishwara is.
This is good.
And we're going to go into even the, we're going to go into what does it mean to be conscious of the presence of God, and how the presence of God appreciated is the transformative factor in us as human beings. Because the presence of God appreciated is the release from emotional suffering of any kind. And that's what I want to go into today.
That sounds like a pretty full topic.
I've never really done this in our talks, but we're going to see how it goes. Now, I want to just clarify one thing. You see, we've been talking about the fact that the problem of us human beings is located with me. So the problem of life, the problem of the problem of insecurity and self-dissatisfaction is located with me. It is not my mind and my desires and aversions. It's not other people, and it's not the world.
So it's centered on my I sense, this fundamental problem of self-dissatisfaction and insecurity and sense of smallness.
Yes, it's always centered on, and there's all, it has a, for Swami Dayananda, it has a dualistic structure. He says self-dissatisfaction. I'm angry and I don't want to be. I'm angry, I don't want to be, and you caused it. I'm depressed and I don't like it. I'm anxious and I wish I wasn't. I'm a loser, I can't stand being like this. It is this continual feeling that the only solution is to be something different than what I am. And because there's a friction between self-dissatisfaction. I am dissatisfied about myself.
As you say it, as it's perceived.
The experience of myself I don't like.
Even though there may be a wrong notion.
We're not going to go into that at the moment. Can we just, I'm having often the experience of myself that I don't like. Also because I take myself to be a physical organism only, right? People can have all sorts of spiritual notions, but the idea of dying scares the hell out of us because we take ourselves to be this physical organism. We're naturally materialists no matter what we say to ourselves.
Yes.
And because this physical organism is subject to harm and to death, there is a tremendous insecurity centered on ourselves. So we're going to be talking about how do we practically, relatively speaking, resolve this and be released from this sense of insecurity centered on us, and release from this self-dissatisfaction centered on us. The whole point of our conversation is that the whole thing that makes Vedanta valuable is this release.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'm very interested.
Okay. We just need to know. And we need to know that the whole effort of Vedanta is concerning the transformation of us as an individual through the means is by seeing what is. This is important to know, and seeing what is does not depend upon anything external. We don't have to believe other people. Like, last time we were talking about belief systems and notions and ideas. What we're talking about is we're talking about the recognition of what is, and then being able to abide in the appreciation of what is recognized while living.
Yeah.
This is fundamentally the complete and total concern of Vedanta. And we're talking about the fact that to understand the ultimate vision of Vedanta, we have to change as a person. And the whole point, and my whole interest when I went to study in India with Swami Dayananda was the understanding of what Ishwara, or what God is, and the relationship of that understanding to the resolution of my suffering that was obviously centered on me. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I just want to go through a preliminary understanding. We're going to use something that Swami Dayananda always loved to use, and he always had beside him these little pots. Right? So he'd hold up this little pot. Now, a little clay pot.
Yeah.
Now, when you're looking at a clay pot, now what we're going to do here is, and this is extremely important for anyone who's listening to us now, is that in order to understand Vedanta, it doesn't require faith in the usual sense of the word. What it requires is that we suspend our judgments or our thinking pending discovery. Okay? So if I'm full of my notions about what I think life is and who I think I am and what the world is and what God is, if I've got my own notions there and I'm convinced about those, nothing fresh can arrive in.
And if I'm reacting to what you're saying, whether I like or dislike what you're saying, that's also going to interfere with me just hearing what's being said here.
That's right. Even agreement. You see, Swami Dayananda didn't want you to agree or disagree. What was important was to listen.
Yeah.
And in the listening alone, the mind is open. And then you would listen to him, and then you would recognize what he was talking about, You'd recognize it as it exists in your life.
Yes.
But that's not possible unless we suspend our judgments, our own ideas about life. Yeah. So we're not talking about agreeing with him, because when he talked about God, which was he said an amazing thing: God is a fact to be appreciated. Now that was quite wild when I first heard that. God is a fact to be appreciated. And you could say that his teaching is what brings about the recognition of what God is.
Yes.
And when he uses the word recognition, that's what he means by knowledge, coming into contact, recognition, seeing what is. And the whole point of Vedanta is as a means or a method to bring about the recognition of what is. Because once what is recognized, you can abide in the appreciation of what has been recognized while living.
Yeah.
So for people who are interested in this, we're going to go very slowly, but just simply just listen, just simply listen. And because all we're going to do, is all we do with Vedanta, is we look at our everyday experience in the light of the teaching. So what we're going to be doing is looking at our life in the light of the teaching in order to bring about a recognition of what we're looking at. And that's what they mean by means of knowledge. So you're not going to learn this from religion, religious belief. You're not going to learn this from philosophy, and science will definitely not bring it about.
We're talking about what Swami Dayananda's recommending, what Swami Dayananda, which is to suspend our judgments and thoughts and conclusions and just hear what's being talked about.
Yes, pending discovery. This is what he means by faith. Okay, but what's really important is that we really, and not just simply in the Vedanta classroom, we really need to constantly dwell on our life and look at our life, the facts of, what's happening in our minds with other people, the functioning of the world. Look at it in the light of the teaching. Because we're so used to looking at it from our own perspective, which we'll be going into. Okay?
Good.
So here we are, as we're looking at a clay pot. Let's imagine I'm holding here's my cup. Okay?
Good.
A clay cup. Okay? Now, that clay cup, it's probably not clay, it's probably ceramic, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay? That clay cup, is there two entities, cup and clay?
I don't think so.
No. We've got two words. We've got clay, pot, right? Now, and what Swami Dayananda says is that we actually, what we're interested, what in the West and normally what people notice is the name and the form, cup. So we take the form, how it appears, right?
Yeah.
And the name, we take that to be very, very substantial, don't we?
And understandably so, because functionally that's the useful part, the form.
Yes. So we have name,
yeah.
We've got form, and we've got function. And then we give it an adjective. We describe it by saying, well, what kind of name and form is this? And then we say, well, it's a clay pot. Okay?
Yeah.
And so what happens is that in our minds, we're very used to, because we're always seeing names and forms around us. Everything you're looking at is name, form, and function. Everything. If you look at your eyebrow, it's a name and a form, and it has a function. It's because it's bony and it protects your eye. You know what I mean? So everything is tremendously part of this intelligent arrangement that we call this universe. But we take the names and forms as their own being. That tree is existing, and that chair is existing, and that person is existing. So we
attribute.
We think that that's the substance of, yes, I'm looking at a chair and it has its own being. Okay, now Swami Dayananda has a very interesting view on this. What he says is that what you're really looking at is you're looking at the presence of clay in the form of a pot. That the substantive, what you're looking at is you're looking at the presence of clay appearing in the form of a pot.
Yeah.
Now it is quite remarkable. I mean, it's obvious when you look at it that the actual substance is not the name, form, and the function.
No.
So what the name, form, and function is is clay.
Yes.
Okay, it is clay.
Mm.
So the weight of the pot is the weight of the clay.
Mm.
So now the other interesting thing is this, is that clay, there's not any part of that pot that is not pervaded by the presence of the clay.
No. Which means that the clay pot, the name and form, it doesn't actually exist separately from the clay.
The being of the clay pot, the being of the pot is clay.
Mm. Mm.
This is the interesting thing about this.
Yeah.
Now, so what we're looking, so what this is a way in which he uses the pot in order to help us look at our life in the right way. And you might be wondering, well, what's this got to do with life? Mm-hmm. Now, this is where it gets extremely interesting. So you could say that the material cause of the pot is clay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's the stuff that it's made out of.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of the very interesting words is a very interesting word, presence. Have you ever heard of the word presence?
Yep.
You see, when you look at our life, and we're going to look at our life now in the light of Vedanta,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at our life, the thing that we notice is that when I'm right now, right here as I am, I'm noticing that there's the presence of reality in the form of a TV screen in you, computer screen in you.
Mm-hmm.
There's the presence of reality in the form of a cup, in the form of a table. There's the presence of reality in the form of my physical sensations.
Mm-hmm.
There's the presence of reality in the form of my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
There's the presence of reality in the form of the light in the room.
Mm-hmm.
There is the presence of reality in various forms, and this is what I'm always facing.
The presence of reality in various forms.
This is the most primary thing about my life, is that I am always facing the presence of reality in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. You see, what I want to accentuate is that the word presence in Latin is a very interesting word.
Mm.
Pres means in front of.
Mm.
Hence, existence, existing. So what is existing in front of me?
Mm.
Now, you'd think it would be very important, wouldn't you, to see clearly what is in front of you, to be able to recognize, well, what is it that I am looking at?
Yes.
This is this fundamental, what they call epistemological question.
Mm.
You know, what am I looking at?
Mm.
Am I looking at what is here?
Mm.
Am I seeing and recognizing what is here? So the obvious thing is that we're looking at the presence of reality in the form of this ginormous universe, which is coming and going in the form of appearances in our mind.
Mm. Mm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, what Swami Dayananda, and this is not something that you could come across through reasoning alone. You know how we talked about last time, philosophy is using reasoning alone to arrive at what reality is?
Mm-hmm.
This is a meaning that exists in the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's a meaning, though, that's different in this sense. It's not a philosophical meaning. It's not even a spiritual meaning as such. It's a meaning which, in the hands of a teacher, or someone who knows who knows the meaning, this meaning can come alive in us as a recognition. We can recognize the meaning of what is. We can recognize the meaning of the presence of reality, what reality is. And it's not something that you can be walking down the road and go, oh my goodness. Okay? So what Swami Dayananda does and is to unfold a vision of what we are looking at. And it's vastly different than what we think we are looking at.
So you're saying we're not just looking at name and form cup, name and form screen, name and form bookcase, which I can see behind you, or we're actually looking at something different.
We're going to penetrate very deeply. We're not like Buddhists. Buddhists attempt to be able to look at the bare facts. We're going to go even further, and we're going to penetrate into the meaning. What the meaning is. One of Swami Dayananda's favorite sayings is, see the meaning. We're going to look at the meaning of what is in front of us. Okay, and we're going to explore it. I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to do it. Okay, I just wanted to get the groundwork done, We're going to go bit by bit by bit, minutely. Okay, so what we're looking at is that physicists get very impressed with the universe. And what they say is, okay, what you've got is you've got space, right? Do you know what I mean? And some very clever physicists, some of them say, well, actually, it's space in the form of time, energy, and matter, which is very similar to what we're saying in one sense. But again, it's speculation. See, we're not looking at cosmology because I can understand a cosmological theory, but is that going to change my being? Is that going to release me from self-dissatisfaction and insecurity? No. So we're looking at an appreciation of reality which releases us from insecurity and self-dissatisfaction. So we're not talking philosophy or cosmology. However, we recognize that we have space and we have space and we have time. And we recognize, and again, that's a form, it's a name and a form. Do you mean like space? It can be recognized. Do you know what I mean? Now, we can recognize time as the persistence of things. Things are moving, changing, and what's moving and changing is we've got energy, which is the motion like that, isn't it? Right? Now, if I was going this really, really fast, it becomes solid. It's matter. So, in terms of physics, we have a world consisting of, the being of the world is space, time, matter, and energy. Now, Swami Dayananda doesn't deny any of that, but what he says is this is what space, time, and energy and matter is the presence of reality in the form of that. So the presence of reality is in the form of this universe. It's appearing in the form of the universe. Just like the cup is, just like the clay is appearing in the form of a cup. The reality, the presence of reality is appearing as this universe.
In various forms, which we take to have separate existence.
Right. So we got the fundamental fact is the presence of reality in the form of. Okay. And now this is what's interesting. So we normally think of life as this space, and then one time the universe happened way back, it started, and then it continued along. You see, so we think that the most important part is the matter and energy existing in space, going through time. But what Swami Dayananda says is that space and time are also the appearance of reality in the form of space and time. It's all a manifestation. So it's and we're pretty lucky that it is a manifestation, because how will we ever know it? Okay. Now, so this reality, which is appearing as the universe, now this is important. It is not dead matter. It is not motion, which is just motion. Now, this is extremely important. You see, basically, the material cause of the universe is alive. In fact, it is life. Do you see what I mean? So we think that life is the appearances. But what he's saying is that the presence of what is here is the alive presence of God, or the presence of Ishwara. So when we talk about reality, God, Ishwara, and we have to be clear on this, because in the West, the word God has been twisted and perverted. I mean, he's some kind of nutcase who wants to lock you up and burn you in hell for the rest of your life. So we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is the presence of the cause of everything. But the cause of everything is not, it once started the universe years and years ago. The cause of everything is present right here, right now, as we are. It pervades everything. Okay?
Yeah.
So, and this is what he means by the material cause. So the material cause is actively present as the functioning of this universe.
And the example of this is that the presence of the cup, that name and form cup, is the presence of clay.
Completely.
It's not separate from the clay.
No.
It's never existed without the clay.
No.
So we're saying this whole universe is not separate from the presence of reality.
The whole universe is the presence of reality. So it's the presence of reality in the form of this universe. Now, it's not just simply the presence of reality, though we're going to give accent to that. Do you notice that this universe functions according to, if I was to arrange a whole lot of matches in a line, right?
Yeah.
In a line on the table, a whole lot of matches. And if you came in, would you think that those matches just ordered themselves, put themselves in that intelligent arrangement all by themselves?
I think it'd be, well, there may be a possibility. I'd say it was highly unlikely.
Yes, maybe the wind blew somehow, but that's right. So how Swami Dayananda answers the materialists, he says, you know, if you have an alphabet soup of all these words, they're not going to organize themselves into a meaningful sentence.
No.
So what he means by order, he means an intelligent arrangement. So you've got this. So, and one of the most characteristic features. So this cause is appearing as not only a universe, but a functioning universe that is functioning perfectly in conformity with the intelligent arrangement it is. Like, you know, when you look at a car engine, that's an intelligent arrangement, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it can't help but function completely in accordance with what it is. Can't help it. Because, so what Swami Dayananda saw, this whole ginormous universe that we're living in is not only is it the presence of reality in the form of this universe, It is the presence of reality in the form of a functioning universe. It's working all the time. And it's working according to the intelligent arrangement it is. It can't be any other way.
Some people may say, well, the motor engine that you refer to is man-made.
Yes, it is, yeah.
But if I looked at it further, you could say, well, the possibility was always there amongst the material that's given, which is the presence of reality.
Mm-hmm.
So the laws that allow dual atom bond, various other things.
Yeah.
All those things is that man
it can only work because it works in accordance with the laws.
Yes, and man was only instrumental in bringing that arrangement, facilitating that arrangement to be in the order it was.
Yes.
Without the laws of nature or the presence of reality, it actually wouldn't work.
Yeah, everything, even man-made things, are the presence of reality in the form of a functioning universe, which is perfectly in keeping with the intelligent arrangement it is.
Mm.
And in fact, Swami Dayananda says that what you're looking at any one moment is the presence of God in the form of a functioning universe, which is perfectly in keeping with the intelligent arrangement it is. He's saying this is what is. This is what you're looking at. Now, it's funny, you know, Kevin, when I get upset with my wife, I lose sight of that entirely. I'm not looking at the presence of reality in the form of a functioning universe, which is completely, perfectly in conformity with the intelligent arrangement it is. I'm looking at someone who's annoying me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my own notions about what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I'm just getting ahead of myself. We've got to go back a bit now. So are we clear that right here, right now, as I am, right? This is the presence of reality, or the presence of God, or the presence of Ishwara, that is functioning, that is appearing as a functioning universe, which is perfectly in keeping with the intelligent arrangement it is.
I get that, but it is remarkable. The implications of that is that a stone is...
It's not a dead piece of matter.
It's just as conscious as I am.
No, it's not conscious. It actually has existence. I don't want to get too complicated. Can we just not go in that direction?
Yeah.
However, good point that the stone is the presence of reality. It's the presence of reality isn't more in the stone than it's in me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. However, as a human being, I have this remarkable ability to appreciate the presence of reality. Stone doesn't. But the fact of the matter is that God is no more present. He's not more present in you seeing some rubbish on the road. He's just as present. He's appearing as the presence of that rubbish on the road as he is present appearing as a temple. He doesn't, there's no favoritism. The presence of God is fully here. We may, and it's our problem, we don't appreciate that fact. We don't appreciate that fact. Excuse me. So the presence of God, right, is fully here and active as this universe.
Yeah.
Okay? Now I want to read something that Swami Dayananda says. A very interesting point. He goes, how do I recognize the presence of Ishwara? Very interesting question. In every form, there is presence. All life forms, presence. Tree, presence. Leaf, presence. fruit, presence, flower, presence, fragrance, presence, worm, presence, reptile, presence, elephant, presence, human being, presence, thought, presence, confusion, presence, belief, presence, knowledge, presence, seeing, presence, hearing, presence, taste, presence, touch, presence, consciousness, presence. In my awareness, all these presence. What is presence. Can I say, idam sarvam, all this is one presence? Can I say that the presence is Ishwara? Now that's very interesting, isn't it? Now, so what happens, what he's saying is that you see, when we, you know, often we might, you know, when we feel lonely or distraught or whatever, you know what I mean, whatever, and we go, well, you know, for us, where is God? Where is God? Right? And the experience is that he's far away. He's somewhere else. Particularly in the West, we don't have a notion of God as the material cause of the universe. Only the Hindus have this notion. So the thing is that the important point here is the very presence of the given is the presence of the giver. And the giver is the material and intelligent cause that is appearing as this universe.
So just going through that, the presence of the given, this universe and the various names and forms that it is the presence of reality, is the presence of Ishwara, is the presence of God in an intelligent order.
Yes. So, and now we're going to even come back even closer. So, where is now the big question? Where is the presence of God? Right here.
Yeah.
Right now. As I am. Now, this is extremely important because when we are upset or angry or unhappy, our experience of that is very unpleasant. Is that right?
Yes.
And we are experiencing the universe as an object from which we suffer.
Yeah.
We're experiencing, say, depression or anxiety or whatever it is that we're experiencing.
Anger.
And so even all of the thoughts and feelings that we have is the presence of God in the form of a functioning order, which is perfectly in keeping with the intelligent arrangement it is. But we don't necessarily appreciate it as that, do we?
No.
In fact, we appreciate it as something entirely different. So here we are, here I am now. But what's important is this, is that what I said at the beginning is we have to look at this extraordinary fact that the presence of God at any one moment, the presence of God appreciated is the transformative factor. It is, so when we appreciate the presence of God as the presence of God, we change as an individual. And I want to go into what we mean by that.
Yeah.
But before I do that, I want to be clear on something. Does my thinking produce or create the presence of God? The presence of reality?
No.
What about my will? You know, can I will it? I'm gonna get God in here. Can I by an action of my will, can I produce God?
No.
What about all my struggling? Is all my struggling, is it going to bring about the presence of God?
No.
So here we've got an interesting situation, isn't it? That the presence of God, I can't produce him with my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so even if I've got a wonderful philosophy about God that I believe in,
Yeah.
is that going to produce the presence of God?
No.
What about my religious beliefs? Is the presence of God a religious belief?
No.
Okay, so it's not for is it a spiritual idea of the universe?
No.
No. So we're left with one thing, Kevin. There's only one thing left.
Mm-hmm.
The presence of God is, this is what it is only, is only a factor to be appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the result of our strivings.
So the presence of God is a fact to be appreciated, which isn't a function of my will or my choosing, isn't a factor of my belief, religious or otherwise.
No.
Isn't a philosophical belief.
No.
That somehow is conducive or favourable, brings about favour. So it's not a technique.
A technique cannot produce the presence of God. The only thing we're left with is that we have to appreciate, as what Swami Dayananda says, God is a fact to be appreciated. So we're only left with knowledge, which is the recognition of what God is. So what can occur in a human being, and this is the most magnificent thing, this is what they mean by knowledge in Vedanta. Recognition of what is. The whole point with Vedanta is it brings about a recognition of what is that you previously didn't recognize.
No.
That's when Swami Dayananda uses when he says the thing, see the meaning.
I do find it's remarkable that I, as an individual, can function quite well in the world, just seeing the various names and forms in the different functions, and that won't make me happy. It may make me materially wealthy, but it won't make me happy.
No. And I'll say this, without the recognition of what God is and abiding in that recognition while we're living, happiness or fulfillment in the real sense is not possible. And also, I want to be clear on something. We're talking about the Vedic vision of God. We're not talking about being mindful. I can be mindful of a cup. The bare awareness of the cup, this being in the now business. We're not talking about that.
No.
We're not Buddhists.
No.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about an appreciation of the presence of what is. And in this appreciation, we change as an individual. And this is this, Swami Dayananda says that the understanding that Ishwara, or that reality, is the material cause of the universe, he says this is the starting point of Vedanta. Because if you don't know what you're looking at, see, remember, here I am, I'm facing the world. What am I looking at?
Yes.
Presence is what's in front of me. That's why he said when religious people, when they raise their eyes to heaven, he says they actually haven't understood what's in front of them. So we're not going to, the next talk will be going into how we can verify this for ourselves. But we at the moment, we're just setting the groundwork for that. You see, as human beings, we're constantly striving, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because we want fulfillment. We want to feel good in ourselves, and through striving, doing and thinking, we try to achieve that, don't we?
And we can materially become quite materially wealthy, and
which is good and pleasant. Yes.
and we can have a confidence in our abilities.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually God-given abilities, but we may not recognize that. But yet, it's
Mm-hmm.
quite a good, an accomplished, functioning individual in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We can appear to that, but that won't solve this self-dissatisfaction, no matter, and insecurity centered on I, which is the topic of Vedanta.
It's a very interesting thing that the Lord Krishna, when he was talking to Arjuna in the Gita, which is the Bhagavad Gita, is a conversation between the Lord Krishna and Arjuna, who was a soldier, a general.
Mm.
Now, Arjuna was good-looking, intelligent, great warrior, highly successful, highly skilled in terms of functioning, and yet the Lord Krishna had to teach him about what God is.
Mm. Mm.
So we're not talking about,
because he was despondent, wasn't he?
yes, but the point is that that this knowledge of God, it is not just because I've got social position and I'm pretty cool in myself, and I think Arjuna was a cool dude.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
if you'd asked him, well, how's your life? My life's fine.
Mm.
But the important point here is that we're not talking about functioning successfully as a criteria. We're talking about the condition of the human being who does not know what God is.
Mm. Mm.
Does that make sense? So, but what Swami Dayananda, what's the most extraordinary thing about Swami Dayananda's teaching? And this is the teaching out of the Bhagavad Gita, but the way he articulates it, I have never met any Indian teacher like him.
No.
Because what he does is that he introduces you to what God is, but it's not like introducing you to a theory, because what happens is that when you are abiding in right here, right now, as I am, I'm abiding in the appreciation of the presence of Ishwara. I disappear as a suffering person. This is the extraordinary relevance. It's what we because this is the transformation of our being, the way we are being in the world. And this is how Vedanta validates itself. Science validates itself by producing a functional result, right?
Yeah.
Philosophy tries to validate itself by what do you call it? Is it right or is it wrong? Have we arrived at the truth? Is the reasoning correct? Religion validates itself by, well, yes, there's a revelation, and we're told that this revelation comes from God, and you just have to believe it. We're not talking, but how Vedanta validates itself is it validates itself in terms of our existence, the way we exist in the world. It's what they mean by it. It's an existential validation. It validates because it transforms the way we see and the way we are.
The way we are being.
The way we are being. Because the way we see at any one moment is the way we are being. If I think that the world sucks, that is a view of the world, isn't it?
Yes.
How far away is that view from the fact that everything here is the presence of God in the form of a functioning order, which is perfectly in keeping with the intelligent arrangement? It is. That's
a long way off.
It's a long way off. So we're going to be talking more about this. But what I wanted to do today was to set the groundwork that what the teaching is revealing, and we're going to go into this minutely, step by step, how we can approach this so this becomes a fact for us. But beginning point is this, is that at any one moment, the presence of the given, now tell me something, is the presence of, in terms of our life, the basic thing is the presence of the given is always here. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
It's always here. It's always available. Is that true?
Yes.
Right. So again, what opens the door is we need to know what it means to, you see, is to come into conscious contact with the presence of God.
Mm.
But you can't come into conscious contact with God unless you recognize what he is.
Mm. Mm.
It's not possible.
No.
It's covered.
Yeah.
And that's what they mean by a means of knowledge. Now, what I want to stress here, extremely important, is this, is that we're not interested in knowing God because of religious reasons.
Mm.
We're interested in the fact that when I come to a recognition and appreciation of what God is, when I'm abiding in this appreciation, I am freed or released from the sense of insecurity and self-dissatisfaction. And that I can abide in the appreciation of God while living.
Mm. Mm.
In fact, there is a lifestyle born out of this understanding of God, which we call karma yoga.
Mm.
And it is this vision lived. Karma yoga is this vision lived. It's the most extraordinary thing. But the karma yoga will not make sense unless we understand what God is.
Yes, Swami Dayananda says there's no karma yoga without awareness of Ishwara.
No. And it's interesting. He says another beautiful thing. He says, and this is, he says, would you like to know how you invite Ishwara into your life, Kevin? Do you like to know that?
Yes, Bede.
Okay. This is what he says. We invite Ishwara into our life by being aware of him. Now, is he talking philosophy?
No.
Is he talking theology?
No, he's not talking of belief.
He's not talking about cosmology.
Mm.
He's not saying, if you live ethical, you'll finally reach God, is he?
No.
So, but you cannot be aware of him unless you recognize his presence.
No.
What he is. This is the importance of knowledge. You see, knowledge in Vedanta is not a conceptualization. In fact, he said, a good teacher can unfold the vision without forming a conceptual construct in the mind of the student.
Mm. Mm.
Because we're not talking about, I've got now an idea of this over here.
Mm.
We're talking about a recognition of what is.
Mm.
So what we're talking about here is that, and we won't go into it today, but we're talking about here is that what we want to do is we want to be able to recognize that the very presence of the given, which is what's here, including our thoughts and feelings. Oh, no, that's the other thing I want to mention.
Mm.
His idea, they've got a Sanskrit word. I don't use Sanskrit words much because but we have to use a Sanskrit word. In this case, it's jagat. Because normally when we think of the universe, we think of me, and then we think of the universe, don't we?
Mm.
But what he says is that the functioning universe includes me. So that not only is
body-mind complex.
Yeah, and practically speaking, it means that the clouds, the way the clouds work, that's the form of the universe. That's the universe working in intelligently in conformity with the intelligent arrangement it is, isn't it?
Mm. Mm.
So the same with my thinking and feelings at any one time, no matter how painful they are the functioning of this universe. That it's completely outside my hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the groundwork here. There's a certain preparation to understand. The reason that I've spent so much time on psychological suffering is we need to see, we're not talking about a religious notion of God that you should believe in.
Mm.
See, we're from the West. We were told we better believe in God, otherwise you'll rot in hell. That's what we were told. Okay? The Indians find that mad. Now, the thing is that what is relevant about this understanding of God is it frees us or releases us, relatively speaking, from the sense of insecurity and self-dissatisfaction. That's why it's important. It transforms our experience because it lifts us beyond our suffering.
Yeah.
And there is no other doorway. There is no other doorway. I mean, I can feel bad and I can go to the movies and I can feel better, can't I?
Yeah.
But that is not the release we're talking about.
No.
That is just simply changing experiences. And so we go into a different place and we experience ourselves differently.
Yeah, where you lose your sense of self-dissatisfaction or insecurity or sense
You forget it, you don't lose it.
in an event.
Yes.
Rarely lose it.
Yes. Because you see, the whole important point of this is this. When we become aware of the presence of God, we appreciate ourselves in an entirely different way. Now, this is the point. You see, in the West, we try to appreciate ourselves in a good way straight away. You can't. What's interesting here is by coming to understand God in the sense that Swami Dayananda means it, we can come to an entirely different appreciation of ourselves, where we're not feeling ego inflation, we're not feeling ego deflation, we're just simply being ourselves in the lap of Ishwara, freed from this obsessive striving, I need to be different in order to be happy.
Yeah.
But we'll be going into that next time. But so the point here is that all that I'm trying to say here is that this wonderful teaching about what God is that has been unfolded to us by Swami Dayananda deserves a tremendous amount of attention. And it has to be our focus because it is the presence of God appreciated, which is the transformative factor. So the presence of God in our life is what transforms us, not what we think and do.
No.
And that's what we'll be going into next time. Okay?
Yeah, excellent, Bede.
Okay, thanks very much, Kevin.
Thank you.